You've been listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem
And
The Mayhem
Hugh
continues.
Hefner, a true American icon, created an empire that was unrivaled.
Although some of his bunnies may have gone rogue, it's because of the love and respect that we received from the man behind it all.
The Rogue Bunnies mission is simple. 100 playmates taking control of their valuable IP while honoring Hef's iconic Playboy style and bringing that experience to our collectors.
Like only we know how, because after all, we did learn from the best.
Relive the stories from the most prominent celebrity home in history
From those of us that lived it,
The employees that worked it,
and the guests who loved it.
And
the mayhem continues.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. I'm Scott Ramsey. I'm in love with my voice. And I'm a co-host with Brian Olea and Victoria Fuller.
hey,
And Victoria and Brian have arranged...
Hey, I want to redo mine. I want to go, hey.
Oh, sorry.
no. No, we're done with that. Go on.
I'm just talking right through you. So Victoria and Brian loved me, so they did.
Oh.
They brought...
Oh,
Which brings us to beautiful parting gifts that we have on
I'm
the table.
glad there's not
But anyway,
video.
as we're starting the show,
That didn't mean what I said it thought. So, we have guests today. I have no idea who we've been talking for 20 minutes. I feel like we're family now, but I honestly don't know who our guests are. Victoria, Brian, enlighten me, because I'm the idiot today.
Well, my name's Alison Reynolds. I worked for Hef. I worked for Playboy magazine. I was around that situation for 44 years.
Rock and
Oh, we're calling it a
roll.
So that's who I am.
years.
I was the makeup artist there. I did wardrobe. I went on trips with Playboy.
besties with her.
And
She
you know what
was
I got?
Hef's social secretary for 2 years from 77 to 79.
And that
when
anonymous
it really
voice
counted.
and that anonymous voice belongs
Is my
to
husband,
Joel Berliner, who
Hello.
has been happily married to Allison for 28 years.
Joel Allison.
27 and a half. There's
27, that's
6
right.
months in there. That's
We've
probably
got a
not
few
great,
months
but
until June. But I have the great joy of being Allison's better lower.
lower half.
back half.
Whoa, you deserve you deserve a hearty congratulations for coming on the show.
It is
Thank
wonderful
you.
to be here with
Plus the
Brian, who we
years of marriage.
love and adore and have known for years, and Victoria, or I should say Victoria.
Now, Joel, before we
We don't know
started
what that
the show, you expressed an opinion about Karen McDougal.
She epitomized an era of Playboy. I'm sorry, I'm beautifully and happily married to Allison for 27 and 3/4 years, and we've been together for 34 years.
Oh.
Karen McDougal is one of the most beautiful playmates and most deserving playmates of the year that Playboy has ever had, and particularly in her prime.
Agreed?
And we actually spent a very lovely night with her and Hef and
Oh, that's
George
right. And George
Plimpton.
Plimpton. When we went back in the day, when
George
we were going out with
Plimpton.
Hef
Yes.
6 nights a week, we took Hef and George Plimpton, who was in town, and Karen McDougal, because she was the only playmate up there, and we went to Le Doux Cafe, which is on Las Palmas in Hollywood, south
kind of in the
Sunset.
parking lot. It was
Yeah,
kind of
It was
weird.
a
You
very,
remember.
very
Yes.
hip. It was an incredibly hip restaurant. It was at the top of the game. It was in all the special columns. So we went there that night with George Plimpton, who I have known since the 60s. Not known personally, but watched on TV since the 60s. So it's Hef, me, Karen McDougal, Allison, and me. And we're there at Le Doux on the outdoor patio. Also that night at Le Doux
Yes.
was George Michael with 4 girls pretending he was straight.
he had his beards with him.
And you had what?
He had his beards with him.
No,
Yes.
no,
Exactly.
And at the next table was Ellen DeGeneres with
Wow.
Anne Heche.
Wow.
Oh, God.
At the time they were together, and they were both.
And so Hef
And they were both
was
dre-
wondering, because he said to us, is this a gay place?
Is this a gay bar?
Swear to God, that's
not
what he said to
intentionally,
us.
But that's just the crowd tonight. and Ellen and Anne Heche, God rest her soul,
Yeah.
were dressed in matching silver. I just came off a spaceship outfits. It was very amusing. And George Michael sitting there at the 5 top in the booth with 4 other girls on either side of him, and it was just it was wildly amusing. But it was a great night. We were there for a couple of hours. We go back to the mansion with Hef and Karen, and then we knew about a party up in the hills, and we're like, George Plimpton is saying to us at the mansion, so what are you guys doing? He says, well, there's a party up in the hills we're going to go to. And he goes, I'll go with you. So we go. It's
He was
2:30 in the morning.
open to anything.
We get there at 3.
Okay.
We're up there. I don't even remember where it was. Somewhere
Up in the hills.
Somewhere in Bel Air, middle of nowhere. And it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, George, we're going to take off. Do you need a ride? You know, we'll take you back to wherever. And he goes, oh, no, I'm fine. Thanks for a great night.
Wow.
For people who don't remember George Plimpton, he was the founded the Literary Society of Paris. He was a great writer. Americans may know him as a TV personality who, among other things, took 4 snaps from the Detroit Lions for a book he called The Paper Tiger. Just a great figure. It probably was on Dick Cavett more times than we can count. But it was an amazing night, and Karen was with us that night.
Well, she didn't go to the party with us.
No,
it was
no,
just
she was
George.
with
What was this,
Very-
like 98, 99?
This had to be 99.
We're flashing back to 1999, right? I had started at the mansion in 96. You were January, Miss 96. And we are going to be going, for all of our listeners, if you're wondering what is Rogue Bunnies Mayhem, we have been telling you it goes all over the place. We are letting all of our audience come and be a fly on the wall into our lives. These are the stories that we get to tell. We live them. We're going to share them with you. We went to a convention earlier. We were talking about NFTs, the NFT world, and all that, of where the Rogue Bunnies is going with this company. You know, Playmate's always a Playmate, but now they've gone rogue.
Once a Playmate, always
we were
a Playmate.
part of a world that was so unbelievable. It still blows my mind.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, but guys, you are in for a quick treat. I mean, it's going to blow your mind. The stories are going to come out. Alison and Joel, we have so much to talk about. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem.
Woo.
This is Jennifer Bershing, Miss March 2009 and Series 1 Rogue Bunny. I'm inviting you to go rogue with the sexiest women on the blockchain and purchase Series 2 trading cards in packs while supplies last. You can also collect individual cards from Series 1. A lucky few will find a legendary or epic card. Why is that special? Because you become an instant VIP with access to gated channels to chat with bunnies in our Discord. Plus, you get automatic invites to all of our in real life events. We're building a community that I think you want to be a part of. I know I want to be in your Dapper wallet, and I have 49 more gorgeous bunny sisters that would agree. Just go to roguebunnies.com, click Buy NFTs, and get out your credit card, because no crypto is needed, and start collecting.
Welcome to the metaverse. The mayhem continues.
And we're back. Yes, we just all took a shot, and we are ready for segment 2. It is about to get wild. Thank you for everyone listening in. We are Rogue Bunnies Mayhem. I'm Brian Alea.
I'm Victoria Fuller.
I'm still Scott Ramsey.
Still?
And we have the lovely Alison and Joel in studio. I've gotten to do so many radio shows with you guys, and I want to thank you. Seriously, coming back from Playboy Radio Days, Mansion Mayhem. These were my movies at the mansion.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
we
remember
did
that was
movies
your
at
segment.
the mansion.
Those were the days.
And we would talk about like all the movies that were at the mansion, what was going on. Joel would go into all the detail about the different movies. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And when I was saying we got to do some fun show today to really understand what kind of world we come from, and I'm like, Alison and Joel, we can go through decades. I mean, this is going to be a really long show.
Well,
it might be
Alison-
even torn into 2.
Allison,
but if you go back, we can
got
go.
this guy in 1989.
Allison was in Playboy in 1968 when I was 11 for her birthday party, and she's also in another
And
shoot.
67.
And 67 when she is the hot-looking girl that the extras are fondling at the bar.
No. Was around a pool.
Yeah, exactly.
But exactly, Joel, you're
That's
bringing
so
up a point.
cool.
But we're talking back. Look at the stories
No,
that you've been able to
I worked
experience.
for a Playboy photographer named Bill Figge. And he and his wife used to shoot Playmates. And they did a lot of Playmate of the Years. We worked in the studio, and we worked out front helping customers. But we had like it was that time when like hot pants were in. And so all his girls were...
For the listener, you're actually showing how high these hot
yeah, I
pants
know.
went.
I'm
okay.
telling you.
Yes,
Hot
exactly.
pants, okay?
Right.
They shot lots of weddings, like 500 a year. Lots of portraits. They were heavy in with the SoCal Trojans, and they used to come and get all their pictures taken there.
They used to go on the plane with Jim McKay and the supporters to the game.
I mean, that's how... Yeah.
Right on.
But they
both
also did 6 centerfolds a year and
Yeah.
6 Playmates of the month
in the old days.
in the old days.
Yeah. But they were the coolest people.
You started with them
people
what year?
thought that I started working there in 68. and worked until 1970.
Wow.
They were the coolest people.
in Chicago?
No,
Glendale.
in Glendale. They had a studio in Glendale.
Hef was still in Chicago, and the Figgies were out here in Glendale. And
You want to know how cool they are? They were.
Yeah.
They made me the studio manager because they liked the way I handled everything. And I took to this art and everything the first day. So they made me the manager. And to say they were happy with me and to thank me, they took me to the Playboy Club right down the street here
Yep.
on Sunset. And it was really cool because I got to see all the Playmates on the walls and stuff, you know. And it was just great having dinner in there. Well, we get up. And they said, oh, no, hang on a second. We've got to go somewhere else. And oh, okay. We go out, get on the elevator, go to the 10th floor of the Playboy building, and all of a sudden, a door opens, there's Hef, and there's a big party going on in Hef's apartment.
1968, penthouse apartment.
Awesome.
Did he live there?
Yes.
Oh, he did.
When he was working in town.
Before he bought the mansion.
That's where he was.
That's when they were also filming
Playboy After Dark.
the
That's
second-
right.
In that spot?
Because he
Not
bought
in that
No,
spot.
that was in
They
his
shot that
studio.
at Television City.
But it was
Yeah.
supposed to mimic that whole idea.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
It was Hef's apartment.
I mean, it was
So-
a cool apartment. It had, like, really from that era, very, cool furniture
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
stuff. And the place was packed. I mean, wall-to-wall people.
Was it the same thing? Food, music, all this
Exactly.
stuff?
Well,
Yeah.
that first time, we didn't stay very long because,
Stayed about an hour.
we had been out for a long time, and I had to get back because I was married to somebody else then. But we just had a great time walking around and seeing all the people. I mean, I'm sure there were lots
And
of
Hef came up and
famous
introduced
people.
himself to you?
Oh, yeah. The minute we came in the door, all of a sudden, Hef, with his pipe, comes walking over to us and introduces himself
this is cool.
to me because he already knew them, and they said, this is our manager, this is Alison Reynolds, and he was so nice to us. He just said, well, have a wonderful time, get a drink,
Have a wonderful time.
He just was awesome.
excellent.
And I couldn't believe
awesome.
it when I got home and I told my husband what had happened. It was just like, whoa, so bizarre. And who knew that later on I would spend so many years with him?
Yeah.
And you would actually, the boss, Hef, would walk you down the aisle.
Yes, he gave me away at my wedding.
Hef was both the father of the bride and the best man at my wedding.
Well, no, after
Actually,
he
my
walked,
little brother Stephen was the best man. But
he
after Hef
walks
walked
me-
down the aisle, he stood next to me, so it was great. And
he just stayed there.
And years later, he would
just
say,
stood there
I was
next to
father of the
Joel."
bride and best man at Joel's wedding. And what am I going to do, contradict him? No. Hef was the best man and the best man at our wedding.
He was wonderful
And
to
the
do
father
it
of the bride,
too.
because Alison's father was
He was
infirm at the time.
Yes,
And
he was
couldn't
much
walk her
older
down.
than me.
And he was so sweet.
Wonder
Yeah.
how many brides Hef gave away.
He gave his daughter away.
So, too.
Well, no, he gave away. Didn't he,
gave away
walk Kendra?
He gave away Kendra.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
And
Yes,
what
he
about
did.
and what about Sandra Theodore?
No.
I'm not sure that he walked Sandra down the aisle, but
No.
he certainly paid for her reception.
No, I know he didn't.
At the, at the
Okay.
mansion.
Yeah, he paid for the reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to see some of the most amazing transformations when I got there at the mansion in '96 when Hef and Kim were married and it was a family home, and then to see it transform to when that they had their split, and next thing you know the boss is going out and you guys were the party posse. I'm gonna want to ask questions about the party posse.
I'll tell
but
you
before
why
we
we
get there,
became that.
before we get there to the party posse, I want to hear from you, Allison. Like, what were the parties in comparison before the boss got married to Kimberly? What were those parties like? And then experiencing what he did as a resurgence, I guess.
Oh,
would
you
say?
mean in the
You mean the-
70s?
No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh well.
Going
That'll
down
be
the
in my
hallway, like when
book.
we would go down, when you would go down the hallway, right upstairs, and he would have all these pictures. And the one that I always loved, I'd see the one picture where the village people are playing in
Yes.
the great hall,
Yes.
and you're like, "What? This is cool!" And you see some of these old pictures, like Jimmy Kahn, and all these
Yeah.
different pictures of
Well-
people that stayed there, and you're like going. I know what the parties are like
In the
from my
old
point of view,
days,
but
in those days in the 70s, the parties were in the Great Hall.
Yeah.
That's where the party was.
there was only about a couple hundred people.
everybody was like there together and like
So there was no tent. It wasn't.
No, there
the
was no tent.
extravagant-
You were
That's why
The
everybody
inside.
DJ
drove
would
up.
be up top, right?
There
up
were
top with
always
the brass
like
asses.
balloons and stuff up top if it was New Year's and whatnot.
But that's why everybody was able to drive up before. So when he opened it up and the guest list expanded, he wasn't expecting it to stop Sunset Boulevard.
I think
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
70s it was a special thing, and it was very small. It was only like 100, 200 people. You had to be
Yeah,
on the list to
they
be
weren't.
there.
They
So
were
that's why it
not
was
big
half
parties
Playmates.
like there were in the 90s and the 2000s.
They looked big.
Definitely not.
They looked big because
but,
they were all.
Well, they were all. We
in
were
the hall.
all in the Great Hall.
Yeah.
Let's just say the celebrity quotient was closer to 20% rather than 4%, as it was in terms
Yeah.
of
In the
number.
old days, everybody
And-
came up.
and everybody was in. There's a wonderful ABC special from 1976, the one that has my favorite thing, Johnny Taylor singing.
Yeah.
Take it up, give it down. Disco Babe.
Yes.
I
was
and
there.
it's where Patty McGuire hands over her Playmate
No.
of the Year
No.
to where
The other way.
Liv hands over.
Not leave.
Tell a story. I'm just trying to help.
I'm just here for
Where
help.
Lillian
Lillian Mueller
Mueller.
hands over Playmate of the Year to Patty
Patty
McGuire.
McGuire.
Now, just like Karen McDougal and Jodie Patterson, the handover from Lillian Mueller to Patty
Patty.
McGuire has got to be the stunning beauty handing it over to the stunning beauty. It's like
That's
one of the
exactly what it
one of
was.
the great epic.
They were
things of all
both
time.
like amazing.
Did they have Playmate of the Year luncheons back then?
Yeah. Probably the late 70s.
But did they
late
do them
70s.
outside, like in the backyard, do the whole
Yeah.
like brunch thing?
Yeah.
I'm just curious,
Uh-huh.
like, again, I know what I was part of, but I'm so curious about the stuff I didn't
Also,
get to be
I
part
had
of.
luncheons.
You know, I was going to school.
I would ask Hef if I could have a luncheon with a lot of my old Playmate friends. And he did it 3 different times. He let me do it 3 different times.
Wow.
That's
And they'd all come and hang out with me. And then the first time
Including
he comes
Sandra.
down, shush. Zip it, buddy. Anyway, he came down one time, the very first time I had this party, and we were all laughing and having a gay old time. And he comes down there. He stayed for like 3 hours, and then he left, and he comes back with Playboy bunny necklaces for everybody, including me, even though I wasn't a Playmate. He gave me one with the little diamonds in it, and it was so sweet. And it seemed like, and even the second luncheon, he sat there with us because he had such a good time talking to all of us because they were all like old girlfriends of his, old Playmates that had been there. And so he felt so comfortable with us, and we loved it that he was there. We had a ball. I think I had 3 of them. The last one, though, was when Holly wanted to shoot one of them
for
the Girls Next Door. And
okay.
that was a little...
Well, that's the one you did in the Mediterranean room.
No, it was in the
Wasn't
dining
it?
room. It was in the dining
Oh,
room.
was it in the dining room?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, we'd be
night.
sitting there, and we're trying to talk and everything, and everyone's afraid to say anything
They're
about
all
the
mic'd.
old days.
Hey, tell that story about the 70s. Oh, never mind.
No.
No, we had a good time in the 70s, okay? We really did.
But you make up a good point, right? Because the mics,
And no
right?
one
Everything
twisted
changed
our
in
arms.
conversation because
Yep.
mics and cameras are on them. Think about the parties, what they were like that you got to experience. I know I got to experience at the beginning, and then the stupid freaking
We all know that in 2005,
phone, you know,
when the
the
That's
iPhone
why
came
the,
in,
camera
the
phone
people
was invented,
stopped coming. That,
and all
you
the
know.
celebrities just said, Wait,
Jack-
Yeah.
well,
I can't just
Jack
come up here and have
Nicholson
fun.
used to come a lot, and
Yeah.
frankly, back in the 70s, everyone used to come.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Literally.
It was astonishing. I didn't get to Playboy until 1990. For the next 5 years until Hef and Kimberly divorced, it was kind of like a very nice, fancy Oscar Wilde dinner party. You could have incredibly scintillating conversations, but it wasn't really about sex, which was cool. It was great. You know, when Hef and Kimberly divorced, or as Doc says, Hef was in the weeds and we started taking him out. For the next 18 months, it was one of the most glorious periods
Yeah.
of our life. And
In fact, they wanted us to meet them somewhere. It was Doc and Hef and I forget who
they
else.
want us to meet him at Bar 1. And we show up at Bar 1.
And so we show up, but we don't even get in the door because
And they're walking
coming
out.
out saying, "Oh, it's terrible in there. It's terrible in
it's
there.
dead, it's
Where can we
dead."
go?"
And
Well,
we-
then Rod Stewart's ex-wife was having a party that night, and we found out where it was, and so we went up to her house. And we probably would have stayed longer, but one of her 2 toilets was out. And so F was like, they let him go in first, but when he found out that was the problem, we left.
Well, that's it.
So the following Tuesday, we're all going to go out, and we get a call. Show up at the mansion around 10, and Doc calls us, or we go.
No, that was a Saturday night or a Friday night. Yes,
no.
it was.
All right.
Yes, it was.
So we show up at the mansion, and Doc is like, "I'm really tired. I'm beat. You're going to have to take care of Hef."
He comes up to me and tells me that. He says, I'm really tired. I'm going home to sleep. So you got to take him out.
What?
Now, we had never taken him out before.
Ever.
And I'm sitting there thinking, well, what do I do with him? Where do I take him?
Hef, Allison and me, and Ron Smith. And so Allison's
So
like,
I decide to go to.
Allison asks Hef, what do you want to do? And he goes, well,
I want to get
I'd love to
something
get
to
something to
eat.
eat. And so
And
Allison...
Barfly used to serve late at night.
Lamb
so
chops.
I called down there, and they're having a party, a private
like-
party.
Right.
And I said, oh, darn, I'm with Hugh Hefner. I need to find a place where we can take him because he's hungry and he wants to hang out. And they said, oh, he could come down.
I'm sure they'd be thrilled to have Hef come.
So they had a little table for us. It was just a tiny one because that's all they had left.
We get down
We
there.
walk in, and it's wall-to-wall celebrities.
Oh, wow.
Can we say any female celebrity
It was
or
the
male
19,
celebrity
in
of the
1988.
time?
It was the CAA pre-Oscar party.
Yeah.
We pull up to the gate. There's a big friggin' paparazzi thing. It's Hef, me, Allison, and Ron Smith.
Oh my
We
God,
walk
Ron
in,
Smith.
and the first two people we see
The only time
is
I
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt standing next to each other at the front of the bar.
Wow.
And then we walk around. Miraculously, we find Ava Fabian and Julie McDougal, who had a
Julie
table.
You mean Karen
Julie
McDougal?
McCullough.
Oh, Julie McCullough.
Julie
Okay,
McCullough,
okay.
sorry. And they had a table, so we joined them. In the corner, in the back of Barfly, Steven Spielberg and
All of them.
Martin Scorsese
You know
are having
they
a
were
conversation. Meanwhile, next to our table, Demi Moore, who was still married at the time.
Is it Demi?
Bruce Sprouse, yeah.
Demi, whatever. and Nicole Kidman are standing there talking. So it was possibly the most amazing freaking night we could ever do. It was the first time we went out with Hef. So then...
Ron
So
Smith.
he decides after that night that Allison and Joel are definitely going out with him every night.
We're talking
That was the beginning of the party posse.
That was the beginning of
beginning.
it. So we say to Julie McCullough, there's Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt over there. She goes, well, I know Brad. So she goes over to them and says, Hugh Hefner's here and would love to meet you. And they're like, oh, Hugh Hefner's not here. Tcha. So she comes back and says, Hef, they don't believe you. And so Hef, Julie, and myself
And
start,
me.
and you
I walked
start
over, too.
walking over to where Tom and Brad are standing. And we get about 6 feet from them, and they realize it's Hugh Hefner.
The
and
look on their faces.
the shock on their faces. And Hef is so thrilled and meets them, and they're like, oh my God.
Hef was in heaven, Hollywood heaven.
And from
Right on.
that
couldn't
night,
believe how many people were there.
but
and
think
from
about
that
that.
night
Think
for
about
the
that,
next
though.
18 months, we went out 6 nights a week with Hef.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the earliest days,
Couldn't keep up with
it
him.
was total heaven because we were literally cruising places and hanging. We would jump into little tiny bars
We went to the Gaslight one night.
That's where we
which
went
is off of
branding.
that little.
Yep.
on
it-
Ivar.
Yeah, but it's.
That's where we met the
it's
band
just
that
like
played
a
at multiple mansion
driveway or
parties.
something. It's not really a street.
Well, it's Ivar. It's an actual street, but it's a
But
tiny
behind
little
it,
club.
yeah.
Yeah. And we're sitting there in a booth. Andy Dick's at the booth next to us with a bunch of weirdos doing weird things. And and it's Allison, me, half Doc, Heather, and Glenn.
Yeah.
And Glenn and I wander around the club, and we run into Brandy, and we bring her over and introduce her to Hef. That's
Roderick.
how Hef.
Wait, that's when he met
That's-
Brandy
That
Roderick?
Yes,
was the night
yes.
that Hef met Brandy Roderick.
That's
and
the night he
band
met
that
her.
night was Morty Coyle.
Coyle.
And I forget what he called his band, but Morty played the drums and sang. And he didn't really play the drums because he was playing cardboard boxes and a tambourine. And the rest of the band, it was very odd. But Morty and his band played probably 5 mansion parties over the next few years. But that night was
it's a funky kind of rock and roll
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's
basically
like down and
covered- yeah.
dirty. You
It's
know,
the
but a lot of
Gaslight.
times they had great bands in there.
Hey,
You know?
I have to say, for all the partying you guys done, you got a great memory.
Shall I tell you about the time when I was 3? The first time I saw Bonanza or play.
We've got to take a quick break, but we want to hear more about these memories. By the way, this is the Rogue Bunnies Mayhem Show. We'll be back.
Victoria Fuller, Miss January 1996, here again reminding you to come join the party with me and my sexy bunny sisters. Join us at roguebunnies.com. Again, that's ROGUEBUNNIES.com. Rogue Bunnies Trading Card Packs Series 2 available now at roguebunnies.com. Come follow us down the true magical rabbit hole. You won't be disappointed. See you there.
Welcome to the metaverse.
This is the greatest show ever.
And we're back.
Joel, if you could say that line one more time, right into the mic.
Into the microphone.
This is the greatest show ever.
And we're back at the Rogue Bunnies Mayhem continues here at
Mansion
the Ziggy.
Stories.
And we're here celebrating the 50th anniversary of Pink Floyd's album Dark Side of the Moon.
yeah.
And we're about to
Yeah.
be blessed with a performance by Scott Page and his band Think X, which is a compilation of many famous band members of other bands.
It's a super group.
It's a super
Yes.
group. I guess that's what it's called. And yeah, they're about to play a concert here once we wrap up of the entire Dark Side of the Moon album.
They've promised to perform
Front to end.
Dark
Back
Side
to
of the
end.
Moon in order, and then Pink Floyd's Best Of.
Oh my God, that would
I have a
include the
story
wall.
about Pink Floyd tickets.
So if you beat us tuned
how did
in,
you
we're
see Pink
with
Floyd for the
Alison
first time?
and Joel. And Alison and
yeah.
Joel, I mean,
I'm
Alison
sitting
was
there
known
in
now for
a
what, 44
meeting
years?
with Marilyn's
Tell them the
meeting.
year.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Let Alison speak. I'm shutting up.
Shut
Go.
the hell up. God dang it.
Everybody,
It was, let's just put it this way. It was in the 70s.
It was the 76 Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd tour.
Anyway, I go into the meeting with Marilyn Grabowski, and all of us are in there
And Marilyn
taking our little
Grabowski
notes.
is-
She was the West Coast photo editor.
Perfect.
And on Mondays, we'd go in, and she'd talk about what was going on for the week. We'd take our little notes, and then once it was over, we'd go back to our offices and go back to work. Well, I'm sitting there right next to her desk, and in her inbox, I'm looking at tickets, and I'm like, oh, what are those, you know? And so I look at them, I'm like, oh my God, it's Pink Floyd. It's Dark Side of the Moon. Oh my God. And I'm thinking
my
this.
gosh.
I don't say it, but I'm thinking it. So then she tells everybody, okay, that's it. So everyone walks out of the office, and I sort of leisurely take my time to get up. And once everyone's out of earshot, I go, are you going to this? And she goes, she looks at it, and she goes, shakes her head. She goes, probably not. I said, can I have them? Oh, sure, take them. Oh. I'm going, yeah.
Were they good tickets?
Yeah.
Were they good tickets? Good seats?
Oh my God, they were great tickets. In fact, I took my boyfriend's little sister, and we're driving down the 405 freeway because it was down at the Forum, and we're smoking pot in the car and everything. We're smoking pot at the concert. And I don't find out until the next day that all these people got taken in because they were smoking pot. And I'm like, oh, that's all I would have needed. Her parents would have killed me. But oh my God, Dark Side of the Moon. It was awesome. And this
Wow.
was 70s. It's like
76.
they were pristine.
We're going to have to
It
see
was
what you
the
think of
best
tonight
concert.
and see how the sound
Oh, my
sounds to you.
God.
They're really good.
But
This will be the
you've
third
been around
time.
rock and roll for freaking
Forever.
ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
you
had a lot
dated
of rock
many
and roll
rock and roll.
boyfriends.
I mean, you ended up with the ultimate rock and roller here, you know?
No, but I may be sublime, but I don't hold the candle to Eric
I had one that wanted me to have a baby with him.
What? Wait, whoa.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Repeat that. Say that again. What?
I met him at a dinner party, and we spent some time together.
When we're saying
Then
him, who?
2 years
Eric
later,
Clapton?
he comes back in town, and he finds because
And
I
her
had
phone
moved.
rings, and it's, hello, is this Allison? And she says, Yes,
I
and he
had
says-
moved, and so he asked this friend of mine who's a drum tech, and if he knew who Alison Reynolds was, and I knew J-Mo for years. He was an old boyfriend for like 2 seconds, and then I said, no, you're not boyfriend material. Anyway, so he gives Eric my number. So it's a Wednesday night. I've moved from one place
Eric
to the other.
Clapton.
Yes, Eric Clapton.
Keep
And I
going.
get this phone call. It's like 8 o'clock at night, and it's Eric. And he goes, I'm in town. I would love to come by and see you, you know. And I said, well, why don't you come for dinner tomorrow night? And he goes, okay. So he comes for dinner. I forget exactly what I made him. I know I made
Asparagus
him
soup.
asparagus soup. I know. I remember that. I don't know what the rest of the dinner was.
Joel
but
even remembers.
I made a very nice dinner for him. Now, he actually, I didn't know this at the time, but he had stopped drinking.
Oh.
I said, what would you like to drink? And he goes, actually, yeah, drink. That would be great. And I said, well, I'm not a real alcohol person, so we may have to go to the store. So there's a 7-Eleven store like maybe 3 blocks from my house in Sherman Oaks on Van Nuys Boulevard. And we go in there. They have no idea who this guy is. No idea. They're all playing pinball in the back and stuff, you know. And so I'm like, okay. So we go in there, and he gets his stuff that he wants. But all he has is the $100 bill. And on the thing it says, no change for more than a 20, right? And I'm up there going, do you realize who this is? And couldn't you just do it this once? And yeah. So Eric is going up and down the aisles getting famous Amos chocolate cookies. And all
Trying to
this
spend
sort of
$100.
stuff. It was hysterical. And finally the guy said, okay, you know, you don't have to spend it all. So then we left and came back to my house and had a nice night.
That's
And
so
then,
funny.
And then he just decided that he was asking you if you would have his baby.
In a roundabout way, yes. Because when we had been together the
look on
first
Scott's
time,
face right now. It's great.
Who had his baby then?
he really, really liked me the first time because I'm not your usual person. I don't like go, oh, I want to take pictures of you and stuff. I never did that. So he knew that I was okay. So when he wanted to get a hold of me the second time, he had wanted children. Wow. And so we're sitting there.
It's quick.
And he kind of, in a roundabout way, you know, says something. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. I had to have a hysterectomy so many years ago.
And he asked, how old are you?
No. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. I said something. Because what he didn't realize is that we were born the same year. He was 3 months older than me. That's it.
He wasn't robbing the cradle. He just thought he was.
Yes. But I've always looked young.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, you
And-
look great.
Yeah.
Now, you also dated someone, you went on the road with Tom Petty, didn't you?
Yeah, but I didn't date him. I was friends with he and his wife. But
Okay.
yeah, I was 15 years of being around them.
She was very close to the Petties. When I first
Yeah.
came into the relationship, it was a good 8 months before I was invited over to the Petties because, you know, you wanted to make sure that things were going to keep.
You wanted to make sure you weren't going to
Jane-
slap anyone when you were talking.
Tom Petty was the coolest person on the planet. We had many
was.
wonderful, lovely nights with him. We used to come over before we would spend Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving at the mansion. Allison would make
In the 80s, once I started, the late 70s, early 80s, I met both he and his wife, and I became very close friends with them. And then I started dating the keyboard player,
Benmont.
And I was very close with Howie, the guy that
The bass
passed
player.
away. He was the bass player in the band. And we knew Stanley, who was the drummer. We knew him first because he was dating a playmate. That's how I kind of got to know the manager and everybody before I even met Tom.
When you think about it, I mean, a lot of Playmates were dating different rock stars.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a...
That was
a
Michelle
thing.
Drake.
Yeah, it was totally a thing. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, I'm going to be a rock star, and I'm going to date a Playmate. I mean, that's what you knew. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Apparently, it was one of the perks. It came with the contract.
Yeah.
Did you ever date any rock stars?
No, I was with what's his name?
That what's his name? Again.
The man whose name shall not be spoken.
We don't want,
exactly.
we don't want to excite him.
You guys are about to go on a big Europe trip. I know I follow you guys. You guys do some really cool blogging. You go to different hotels. You do write-ups, your photography. You get to use it all. I understand you're going to be going back to Europe. Is that for work or just fun, pleasure?
We did 15 years as travel writers.
A little bit of both.
And one of the reasons we became travel writers is because we wanted to be treated the way we were when we traveled with Hef.
See, that was my question going to be asking. Is like, you got to travel
In style.
top of the line. In style, 5 stars.
Dude, we were so spoiled. I'm sorry. Once you've gone to con on your own 727 loaded with Laurent Perrier champagne, and you spend 4 days on a yacht in Cannes and 2 days
With
at the
Lenny
Hotel
Kravitz
Griffin.
and hot chicks everywhere.
Oh my God!
And we had a party on the boat. We had
Yeah,
a party
party
on
on
the
the
boat.
party
Yeah.
we got with Matthew McConaughey and John Bon Jovi because they were both in that movie U-231, which is about the submarine.
Yes.
And that was when it premiered. And right next door to us was Victor Dre on his
From
yacht.
Dre's.
From
Monday Night Dre.
No way.
Yeah, totally.
Was that the first trip when the boss started using the captain's hat? I remember we
think
had to
so.
find. We
I
had to
think
go find
so.
him a captain's hat, and I think it was that
Yes,
trip.
because
we found
we
it at a
stayed
hat
on the
shop in
boat.
Long Beach.
And he never
put
stopped wearing
on-
it.
He put it on when we took the launch from the yacht over to Hotel de Cap to play backgammon and have lunch, and he never took it off for 23 years.
That's true because we were out in the sun, and so he
Yeah, he needed a hat
we're on
because
the boat,
because
yeah.
I remember we bought him a derby. Remember for a little while he had that one derby, but I think it was this trip. It had to have been.
You know what's
and
weird?
He needed something that would be cool because you guys would be on a yacht.
You know what's weird is that years later I saw
It
Chuck
became his
Berry.
look. Really, yeah.
I saw Chuck Berry documentary footage of the last 10 years of his life. Chuck Berry wore the same hat that Hef wore.
No.
Really?
He
I
did. He
remember-
wore a captain's hat. It's crazy.
You know, the captain's hat, the
no.
robe, and the pipe,
pipe.
which he didn't smoke at the end. You know, you put those things together without a body in there.
Oh, you know who it is.
You
Yep.
put it on a rabbit, you
Totally.
put it on
Totally.
a turtle. It's Hef.
But what I love is that tonight is the 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon.
That's right.
Alison has this incredible story about seeing Dark Side of the Moon at the Forum at the peak of their career when the hospital bed came flying down from the back corner, the 76 tour. Now, I saw that tour when I was 19
Oh, rub it
at
in.
Capitol Center. No. Allison is...
I saw it for free.
And you had way better tickets than I had. I had shitty tickets in the back.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Allison. I love you guys. You've been listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem
And
The
the mayhem
mayhem
continues.